Bye, Tom. Every time.
Hello, welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and Arcanist evaluators to that 6+++ show. I am your host, Tom, very lowest of men, a talkative nerd who you hopefully know. Back once again with my boys from 6++, the best Warhammer team in the UK, and we're going to be talking about teams tonight, which is very exciting. And I'm hearing my own show in my playback somehow. Where's that coming from?
Have you got a YouTube?
That's
tab
okay.
open?
We've managed to prevent it, guys. That completely threw me through a loop. We are talking Warhammer. We're talking teams. We're very excited to share some wisdoms with you. We have two very prestigious teams events coming up in the International Teams Tournament, but also the World Team Championships. And we have a bunch of people prepping and thinking and diving through all of those here to share what they've learned and some lessons as well. Let us know in the chat what you're up to. We'd love to hear from you. And we will, of course, endeavour to engage with you on the way and see what kinds of things you have been getting up to as well. Before I do that, I'm going to introduce my cast of players, do a little bit of self-promotion, and then we'll crack on. So, Chris, my dear leader, what's up?
Hello. Yeah, I'm here. I'm surviving. It's the summer holiday. Summer holidays, which, as we all know, is a very restful time, apart from people with children. So
You always place a lot of hope in it to restore you. It doesn't sound like it has, Chris.
I was up till 1 a.m. filming with Mr. Ed Wallace yesterday.
Nice.
That's where my time's going. So basically, it's just living the dream during the day and then getting all the stuff done in the evening. But yeah, I'm excited for this show though. What I really want to do is pad this section out, because we had a comment last week saying, like, I love you guys, love your shows. However, why do YouTubers want to take so much time talking about themselves? Like, just get on with it.
Narcissists, that's why.
And I was like,
that is correct. We are narcissists. We're also friends, and this is like when we actually catch up as well.
That's what I might comment.
So that's actually the main thing.
Even if literally everyone was like, stop talking about yourselves, we would still talk about ourselves. We're always open to feedback. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
But no, I'm excited to drag this out and then talk about teams, my favourite of all Warhammer.
Yeah, exactly that. I thought it'd be a topic you'd quite enjoy. It's going to be really, really good fun. Speaking of team players, we also have my sensei, the wonderful Scrivo of Team Wales, who's going to be shipping out to the WTC quite soon. Are you playing at ITT as well, Scrivo, or have you dodged that one?
No, when I realised how close it was, aka the day before I was flying, I went,
yes.
Does anyone want my ticket? Because I think I might get murdered.
Yeah, very reasonable.
/ be sleepy. But yeah. So I'm doing a weekend without Warhammer.
Do you want to show people on the stream your cool new Wales stash there, Scrivo? Because that shirt is quite magnificent. Look at this. Look at this.
Ooh, that's an abomination there.
Look how good that is.
Interesting.
Wales.
So it's actually Welsh Pool from Deadpool and Wolverine.
It's very
the
good.
Inspiration.
Very, very good.
Designed by the fashion designer Scrivo.
Yeah, so, wonderful. No, you've done a great job with those. They look
no
very,
expense
very nice.
was spared.
Excellent. And have you done anything 40k related in recent times, Scrivo?
I've had a bit of a transformation, some might say. That I got roped into one of our scrims practicing for WTC with our friends at Iceland.
Yeah.
And being I only play Space Marines, apparently. That's what I do these days. Orcs are a distant memory.
They are.
So I was told, right, Kev's busy, he's on holiday somewhere doing something rather than playing Warhammer, so we need someone to do the Space Wolves match. And I was like, you know what, it's Stormlance, I could probably do okay.
Yep.
It'll be fine. And now I'm designing how to make Wolfen out of spare parts, which is a real problem I've got now, that I now want to be a Space Wolf main. Probably for LGT.
My understanding is that you absolutely smashed up an Icelander on your first game with the Space Wolves, which has endeared them to your heart.
It was the weird thing of like having anti-vehicle and monster 3 up, which is one better than Deathwing Knights, but also it was quick. So I was like, okay, this sounds like a drug that I probably should be taking and taking to LGT. So I'm kind of tempted, but that means I'd have to build and paint 70% of an army. So I'm not sure I'm going to do it, but we'll see.
I think you'll play them. I think you will play them at LDT. I think you have been. You know how you can always tell someone starts to make little comments, and you can just see where their 40k heart. You can see where it's gone.
It's horrible, isn't it?
And I saw a couple of having been nagging you to do your World Eaters. I saw a couple of comments last week. And I was like, it's gone. It's over. It's Space Wars time.
Do you know the worst bit is I've literally last week put all my World Eaters out and this is what I can do. I built the list, and then 10 minutes after building the list, I was like, now what wolf list will I build theoretically? And literally was just like, I'm just teasing.
No harm in me just looking at the car.
Yeah.
But
then I worked out my plans for next season, even like how I'm going to approach it, and it was like, I'll do Space Marines, and that means any type of Space Marines. So it could be Space Wolves, could be Blood Angels, could be Dark Angels, World Eaters, or Orcs. And then Orcs is just like ... It's like, yeah, sure. So I've got 3 options there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm in trouble.
Very exciting, though. That's going to be loads of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm also joined tonight by Ben. He's sitting in the dark on his own.
I'm still in exile, apparently. The dark corner they shoved me in, guys. Send help.
Oh,
Send help.
So
pay them a $5, they'll release me.
What's new with you, man? Take us through it.
Not a lot, really. I got a puppy, so that's fun.
That's very cool.
It is very fun. He's very bitey right now.
What breed?
German Shepherd.
No.
Oh my god, that's going to be huge.
He's absolutely going to be huge. His paws are like clubs. They're very scratchy. His teeth are very bitey. But he's also very well behaved. So he's got a really sad story. I'm going to bore the audience with this really sad story.
Go on.
He was presented to my partner's vet.
Timestamp for the sad dog story.
Sad dog story. Here it is. Cue the music.
6:29.
Yeah. Go on then.
He was presented to my partner's vets by his breeder, who had stepped on him and apparently had dislocated his hip.
Oh man.
So the breeder, in their magnificent breeder prophet wisdom, was like, let's put him to sleep because I can't sell this dodgy puppy. And we were like, hang on a second. Have you thought about spending £30 on pain relief? No, I can't sell a dodgy puppy. Okay, sign this paper to sign him over. And then I was like, sure. Then my partner spent the next week trying to convince me that we could foster him and get him socialized. Yeah. And he came home 12 hours later. He was never leaving again.
Forever.
Yeah. Compromised, and she got her way.
I compromised, and now we have a big German Shepherd.
Well, you're an absolute hero, and I'm glad that this dog is going to go to a loving, caring home rather than be another victim of late capitalism. So that's good. Absolutely. That's very, very good.
How are you, Tom?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I'm good. It's WTC next week, so that's quite exciting.
Show us your hammer.
Hammer?
You want a hammer?
Oh, I did win a hammer. Yeah, that is in the
trophy room.
I was at Allies of Convenience, which is a big 8-man teams up at Element, which had the Welsh and the Scots there, and I took Timu England, which was lots of people from the England squad who hadn't made the 8 this time, but lots of great people who were really, really instrumental in our prep and in the team setup this year. So that was awesome, including our own Harley and our own Adam Gawley, which was really, really fun. And I got to sort of be the boss, which was nice. And we came second in the end. We had a valiant 4-point defeat to the Scots, who were really played really well. We had a great round with them. And then we played John's beloved Welsh, and we did get the edge of that one and win that one as well, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, no, it was amazing, and it was a bit of a relief because when you're in TTS land playing against people who've played against your list a lot and playing against the best others in the game, it's very easy to be like, oh god, what are we doing? But then got on the table, can play Warhammer, felt very good. Didn't have to draw any little circles or blue lines, any of this absolute crap. Just played the game, and GSC in a great spot. And I got to catch up with Innes, who obviously has been massively instrumental this year, helping me out and advising me on GSC and all sorts of things. So it was really nice to see those boys as well. And Bruce Duffy, who I had a great game with when I went over to Scotland, was absolutely murdering people on Chaos Cards. Like, absolutely murdering people. 96 points out of 100, I think he got. So, yeah, Scotland looked really ready to go as well. So I'm very excited to see how they get on. And I am tempted to put Bruce in my fantasy team. I think I'm going to have to do it. Like, he feels like a good shout. Sorry, Innes. Alrighty, okay. What we're going to do is read through the chat, and then we'll do a little bit smattering of self-promotion because we are reasonable at self-promotion. We are at least all right. So in the chat, we have Command Protocols. That's the lovely Matt Bell. Well done for killing everyone with Necrons this week, Matt. You were brilliant. Iniquity, Adam Gawley's in. There's boys here who just want to get and they want to hear some stories from Allies of Convenience that they're in. I can tell they've all had a good time. They're all excited. Erebus Paints is in. Jack, our very own Jack Ash is in. Ed Watts is in. John Black is in. Loads of people. Hello, Michael McGreevy. Alex Fowler's here. Sam Dunn championing his low-key good team right here. Maybe you can share us some tips about how the Warhamsters have become low-key good over the last year or two. So I'd be quite interested to hear what's been going on internally. No, it's not just the Maltese. It's not just the Maltese. They got other strings to the bow. There's some Necron hate going on in the chat, which I'm not going to endorse. Come on. They deserve to exist as much as anybody else. And actually, on the Friday night, we all sat. Harley, after our law quiz last week, has been chaining law podcasts and audiobooks because he felt so bad about how badly he did. And he got there on the Friday, just sat down in front of me and said, Tom, I've been reading law. And listening to law. And he just absolutely unloaded. And then we all got stuck on law conversations for about 2 hours in the Airbnb, which was wonderful. And Matt Bell told us a lot of deep Necron law that was quite good. It was a lot of fun. Wonderful. I think that's pretty much everything. Hello Martin Dorr as well. Hello Marco Krogol. Wonderful. I think we're good to go. We will just do a smattering, a smidgen, a snifter of self-promotion before that. Chris, promote thyself and thy channel.
Well, we're Plus. Sometimes we do videos.
We do.
In fact, not as many these days. Off gallivanting and doing things, but no, we're. I'm just stalling for time here as I frantically open just padding out the old chatteroony. Anyway, Tom, you recently spoke about how excited you are for Votan.
I absolutely did, Chris. I did a speculation video, which is not my usual jam, but I thought it might be fun, looking at the new Votan models, trying to guess how that's all going to fit together. And I think it's exciting. I think there's some exciting stuff in there for Votan. Even more exciting were all the useful things that the comments added, because apparently there was a stream where they told even more depth what these units would have. So actually, read the comments as well. There's a few little things I didn't know. Like, did you know this little Berry Egnesson guy is going to be a lone op? That's bonkers. That's really fun. And the little gunner guy is going to be lone up within 12. Votan haven't had a lone up in 10th edition. So I, for one, am very excited to have some lone ups. But yeah, I did a bit of speculating in there. And I think, in general, really, really excited for that book. And I shall definitely do a bunch of stuff on Votan when it comes out, play a bunch of games. And it'll be really fun to see how it lands. Pretty exciting.
So it's Wotan, not Notan, then.
Anyway,
Nice.
you also
I was holding that in.
Had out 10-minute video on drop pods. How did you manage that?
Because I went through the old data sheet, the new data sheet, and then went here's it in a list that would probably make the list worse because you spent 70 points on a drop pod rather than a scoring unit. But here we are.
That sounds like content no one can afford to miss. We did have some actual real content because
thanks, boss.
Ed sat down with the one and only Vic VJ and spoke about the top.
That is legitimate content.
Eldari list. So if you're any sort of Eldari fanboy, or just you really really hate Eldar, and
it's a video with Vic in as well. So just if you need to go, if you need some relaxation,
just listen to that. So. Fact that there will be no TTS stream this Thursday. I was due to play. I was going to be getting my one and only repping for ITT.
Amazing. So, what army, Chris? What army are you bringing?
Some chumps, some rubbish army. And yeah, so that's
for the viewers. That's Death Guard.
So yeah, there's no stream. But in terms of upcoming content, obviously, so Grey Knight book is out there in the wild. So going to be producing lots of content on that. Ed and I recorded our most recent one. I've got a couple of Blood Angels videos, a combat video. I've got a load of stuff which I'll hopefully film at some point. And then obviously we've got a load of WTC stuff coming out. I'll be doing some coverage from back home. The guys will be trying to update everyone as well, because we've got various people going to that wonderful event. But yeah, I think that's generally. Oh, we're doing a WTC sweepstake.
Yes,
it is literally £2 to 6++40k at gmail.com. Just put your Discord name in. I'll randomly draw it, and then you might win some money. Non-profit for us or anything. It's just a bit of fun. where you'll get randomly drawn a team for a sweepstakes. So come and join the party.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. And to reiterate on the educational side, because we do that as well, we obviously are still running a big old coaching Discord. And you're very welcome to come and get involved if you're interested in learning to play 40k better. We have a bunch of people working in there, and you can just sign up as a chapter master on YouTube, and we can sort you out, get access to that Discord, all the things going on in there. We run little events in there. We've got masterclasses, which will resume immediately after WTC. I am half tempted to try and see if there's enough Votann fans in our Discord to do a Votann class. I have no idea if there will be, but we can put feelers out and see, because I'd love to run a Votann class with all the Votann mains. That'd be really, really fun. And so, yeah, come get involved. Obviously, hit the old like and subscribe, leave us a comment as well. And if you want to join our big old community of YouTube members, get us that yacht in Monaco to play 40k on, we'd love to have you as well. I think we're on our way to 120 now, so all looking pretty exciting.
Yeah,
number go up, makes nerds
Discord
happy
as well, guys.
Yeah.
Our Discord at this time has 846 members and currently has 7 different people all involved in TTS, because we've got leagues and all sorts going on. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, wonderful. Right, okay, with all of that done, I think now it's time to get Chris's opinion on why the Lionesses are able to achieve such serial success in the women's football game.
I just wrote the timestamp on the pad, you ridiculous.
Loser. Why are the Lionesses doing so well? They're quite good at football.
They're really good. They're mentality monsters, Chris.
They are, yeah. I mean, I saw some facts. The final 3 games, they were in front for 4 minutes in those 3 across the quarters, semis, and final, and yet they somehow won all those games. And that's pretty mental, right? So yeah, I think just that attitude is pretty incredible. I mean, I think any sort of neutral would be hard pressed to say that England deserved to win the final. Spain were quite clearly the better team, but that's football, right?
Absolutely.
No, it's a very impressive.
Yeah, I think it's a remarkable thing. Very well. Speaking of teams, here is our main topic. It's about teams. We have the World Cup looming. We have ITT looming, which I imagine a whole bunch of you are planning to attend. Hopefully we'll see some of you there as I go and support Alfarius on the Saturday. But I think as Teams 40k grows and the interest in it grows, it all booms massively. I think there's obviously a lot of interest in what makes good Teams 40k and what makes good teams player. And this is obviously something that we've all been on the journey of at different stages, at different points over the last couple of years. I think it's fair to say for a lot of us, it's become our favourite way to play and enjoy the game. But also it's a very much an acquired taste. It takes some getting used to. So I think what I wanted to do today, from both the perspective of someone who has got their head into WTC and go into that this year, but also the perspective of Chris as our captain leading Alfarius over this year to lots of success with different comps and different people as well. John being involved in the Wales setup, Ben taking his first steps into teams as well. I think we've got a lot of different angles to cover about starting to understand it, starting to get your head around it, and starting to improve at it. And I would love, chat, to hear your stories as well and your own journeys in this and what you've been up to. But if you have questions as well, fire them away as we go, and we will do podcast questions at the end too. And so in terms of a structure, it is a tripartite structure. It is several different times and moments in which you can improve your team's game and how you might go about it. So we like to do this. We've done this with a few different sort of educational videos where we've done sort of before, during, and after events. These are all moments in which you can kind of assess, approach things, and make changes. So what we're going to do, in a broad sense, is thinking about what can you as a 40k player do before attending a team's event to set yourself up as well as you possibly can, and what has improvement and getting better at prepping for teams events looked like for you guys. And I'm going to open that up, perhaps start with yourself, Ben, actually, and then move it around the group. What has getting ready for a teams event looked like for you, and have you changed and learned and adapted anything over the years to get better at it?
So I've attended a couple of teams events.
Yeah,
mainly with Trash. I've got ITT coming up this weekend with you fellas.
Yes,
highly repping.
Traitor.
I'm here. I'm 6+ now.
This still not from the other chats.
So I think this time, in terms of preparation, there's been a lot of togetherness. A lot of the boys I didn't really know. So there's been that team bonding experience initially, trying to get to know each other, because I think at the core, you have to know the guys you're playing with. There's got to be that strong togetherness there, the ability to communicate between yourselves, the ability to feel comfortable saying, boys, I've absolutely fucked it, I'm getting 20 out here, without feeling too scared to say so. So to be able to communicate that information. In terms of prep, actually, a lot of it has been chatting to a lot of guys on the faction that I was going to take. So Tom, Adam, Rob. There's been lots of discussions and list stealing from you fellas.
Good.
To work out a list. And I think the biggest thing that's actually helped formulate a list going into it is setting out our team roles early and the sorts of matchups that we are aiming to get into, and working out that team comp so what sort of list you want to take and need to take for that team.
Yeah, that's very good. You've hit a few really important notes there. The togetherness point, I think that's actually massive. I think actually cultivating a sense of togetherness in the group you're going with is huge, right? And you can do that through, you get a chat going before, you talk through things, you have some fun and games with it. It's fun to plan your social dimensions around it as well. I remember, Scriv, you had your didn't you all do breakfast and Airbnb with I think it was Legion at some point, or it might have been Overgone, I can't remember. It's one of the things you guys
last year, yeah.
That was it.
It made us a fry up. It was brilliant.
That was it. And so stuff like that, it goes a really long way. And I think building that sense of a squad is really, really good. So I think that's really good. I think talking to people and getting advice on your faction is huge, right? And that can be as simple as translating from singles to teams, right? If you've not done a lot of teams, talking with someone who knows the army really well, what actually would help me skew this a little bit in a team sense? Because I think it's funny, in the Takari chats that we have, I'm often coming at it purely from a sort of teams angle in terms of thinking, I'm always thinking, well, you might as well design it to do X, Y, Z, because that's what it's going to have to do, right? Whereas in singles, it might be a bit more of have a little bit of everything and everything else. I think those are all really, really important points, Ben, and really, really useful. Excellent. Let's move it over to yourself, Scrivo. What do you do before an event that can help level up your team's game?
So, from a personal standpoint, I like to test out my deployment if I'm not familiar with the maps, and then actually play through a couple of turns so that I know which. So, for instance, if it's a mission pack that has different styles of maps like heavy, light, and medium, knowing which one of those I'm actually going to be useful on and not. Because going to the table when you're doing pairings and having someone go, I don't know which map I want, wastes so much time and actually hinder the pairings process massively, right? So having that sort of prep in mind, and then if my teammates are not so familiar with it, helping guide them as well, so that that as well as the matrix, because the matrix is all well and good, but the minute you're starting looking at light and heavy boards, that can really kind of flip that on its head, right? Like if you get paired into a gun line on a light board, your matrix is not going to be accurate if you were expecting to be on a medium.
Good. Very good. Yeah, and I think having a sense, and that's a team roles thing as well, right? Knowing who's going to be on what sorts of boards. This is something that actually, for all our successes over the years, Alfaris have arrived at remarkably recently as a feature of our team comps. We've always been the team with 3 melee armies at a UKTC event, wondering why we can't fit them all in the places we want to fit them. But I think that's really useful. And I'd say, at the very least, deploying and getting a sense of your list on the boards it's likely to play on, I think is really important. I remember when I took CSM to one of our ITTs because I was just fed up of Necrons and I wanted to kill them. I hadn't played the CSM at any point, but I did at least look at it and put it on the board and go, Abaddon stand there, Vindicator stand there, stuff go boom, everyone's happy.
And if it can fit as well, because you might make a really nice list, but if it can't fit in deployment, you've got a problem, right?
Huge, yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. And then finally, taking it over to the captain of Alfarius himself, Chris, what do you do in the run-up to a Teams event that can help you prepare and be the best Teams player you can be?
Well, spend 2 months regretting putting myself in a team with Ed and Harley and having to share a WhatsApp group with them. That's probably one of the things. So I've got a few things. First of all, if you're the person who's maybe you've got more than one team, so you're having to pick different teams, it's trying to pair or match up people according to not necessarily just ability, but expectation. And I think it's incredibly important that you go to an event and everyone's on the same wavelength in terms of what the goals are, right? There's no right or wrong here. It's just you all have to be wanting the same thing, because if you end up in a situation where you've got 2 or 3 of you who want to take it really seriously and 2 or 3 of you who want to go get absolutely smashed and just have a laugh, then both sets of people are going to be dissatisfied.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you have that understanding of what the expectations are, what your goals are, and kind of make sure that's very clear. So obviously with Alfarius, our goal is to go and win the event, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to, but our goal is to go as far as we can, as deep as we can, and try and make that final, try and beat the best teams. That's our goal. So we try and put things in. Everyone on that team has that goal.
Yeah.
So that's something that's really important. As Ben has said, really, really, that team comp and those roles is super important. And it's surprisingly hard to do in actuality. It's very easy to take a step back and be like, right, guys, let's all matrix our armies and then see where our weaknesses are. It's very easy to say that, but to actually do it and then work out what your gaps are, especially when you've got people who've got various options of what they might choose to play, or 27 different options if you're Ed. I don't know what the Ed's final list was.
Hold on, Chris. We can read it out.
Should we name shame? So basically, for those who don't know, our run-up was we picked our 5 for Alfarius, and some of us were settled, some of us weren't. And by I say the fact that some of us were settled, Lee was going to play something chaosy. Harley was going to play Thousand Suns. Ed wasn't quite sure. Adam was going to be on Drakari. And I had no idea, but it was probably going to be Blood Angels. So we did that whole matrix based off of that. Over the course of the last 2 months, and this is the longest build-up we've ever had as a team.
Possibly too long. Maybe.
Some would say that. So
I think too long. Yes. That was useful.
The thing was, we were 2 months out and having arguments about what the best comp was. And it's like, there's literally going to be another data set. There's going to be more books. Like, it's kind of not really worth it.
And the meta shifted an absurd amount.
Yeah, it doesn't really, it's not worth, like, when we first made our group and started talking about it, Knights weren't in the picture. And so actually traditionally I've done like 4 weeks build up. I think that is better. Or maybe it's just our experience in this group, who knows. But we did have Ed, and I think it's probably important to share the sort of process that Ed went through on this journey. Well, I would say I wouldn't recommend this.
No. So I want to say that this highlights Ed's versatility. That's Ed, if you're listening, this is for you. Ed's proposed contribution to Alfarius' ITT push, in order. Space Wolves, Thousand Suns, Tzeentch Demons, Demonic Incursion, Custodes, Space Wolves again, Demons again, Recon Guard, Windrider Host, Kroot, Angelic Inheritors, Blood Angels, Tyranids, Recon again, Anvil Siege Force, Vanguard Space Marines, Anvil Siege Force again, Recon again, Kroot. Actually, again, we forgot to label the again there. War Host, Aspect Host, Space Wolf Terminators, War Host, Recon again, Aspect Host, War Host. But again, it's been a bonkers meta, right? It's moved a lot. And I think this is actually something, I think there are 2 ways to look at this. And actually, I think different teams will place different value in different things. Ed is a player who's incredibly good at gauging a meta and finding a good place to slot into it, right? When a meta is moving, someone like Ed finds that difficult because he moves with it, right? He's adapting, he's getting new data, everything else. A player who can find a really interesting angle in the meta and bring a good list, as Ed has done many times, is really valuable. A player who's also dyed-in-the-wool specialist who can adjust to any meta, also really, really valuable. But at different moments, these different things have different levels of value, right? Sometimes you have to look at it and go, I don't care how much of a specialist you are, this army is not going to help us in a comp. Sometimes you have to look at it as Drakari do come to mind. For sure, my beloved Drakari, as someone who did try to get them into the WTC 8 and was understandably shot down during an intervention eventually. I just fight my best. Oh dear. And then, other times the meta is so defined by certain armies that you're a bit silly not to take them. Like, for example, Chris, Death Guard.
Yeah, so if we were to go back to what we were initially thinking about, Lee is on a Chaos. I think he was on Bile up until midday Sunday, and then suddenly we were on, or maybe midday Sunday afternoon, and suddenly we flipped round to Chaos Colts. Harley doesn't own Thousand Suns anymore.
No, he didn't.
So Harley's on guard.
Me and Josh beat him with some accursed cultists, and then he quit.
Harley had a wonderful weekend with his guard on WTC. Came back and went, guys, the list I've just practiced all weekend doesn't actually work on ITT. Don't really know what to do. Then had an absolute meltdown, and I did Canis Rexin. So that, after 2 months, so just to clarify, after 2 months, after those first two, we have made that decision on what we're taking literally the evening of list submission with 2 months prep. We've then got Adam on.
Whether that's smart or not will simply come down to the weekend, won't it? It's one of those things that can go either way. Ed's Wraith Night list, that was a last minute addition, and that stormed us all the way up, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe it's just genius.
It's Harley's first ever innovation, so I'm hyped for
it. First time ever Harley's gone against
Can I merge
wishes.
2 overpowered armies in one go?
Harley, idiot savant.
So then we have got Adam on Drakari, and he's always been on Drakari, so that's fine. He got. Adam got chances. Did he play his ITT list at WTC?
He did, Chris. He played it at Allies.
Okay. So he's got the reps in.
Yes, he has.
Then we've got myself, who, and this is one of my pieces of advice would be, don't do this. One of the most important things when we're trying to do out an event, firstly, is having a good team comp that has a clear structure and pattern. We've had clashes before where someone we wanted to put down as first defender actually was best placed as second defender. And that was poor composition. We've had times where we've had too many pairing princesses. So as Tom said, we've often taken too many melee armies, and it's just not been quite right. What we felt so comfortable with at the last one was that we had people in each slot. We had 2 different armies that could go as first defender, but we always had a right army to put into the right thing. That worked beautifully. So team comp and that sort of thing is super important.
I completely agree.
Just as important is knowing your matrix.
Yeah.
Having an accurate matrix and doing your pairings well can up-level you so much and help you punch up against teams that maybe one-on-one in singles would be better than you. And that's something that Alphios have historically done quite well. And a big part of that is because we're quite good at pairings. But also just getting your matrix right is really, really important. And to get your matrix right, you need reps with your army. There's nothing obviously worse than going and being like, I think this is a win, and suddenly it's a big loss because you didn't understand the matchup. If they're just better than you, that happens, right? You don't pair according to player skill. You pair according to the game of rock, paper, scissors. And so if you know that and you're accurate with that, that will really, really help. So therefore, what you don't want to do is have players who, unless you're like someone like Ed, who can just pick up an army and understands the game so well. So I'm taking Death Guard. Now, I've never had any interest in Death Guard. I've never played Death Guard before. That army just does not appeal to me in the slightest. But in our process, my main army is Grey Knights. They're not really a thing at the moment.
No, they're not.
I took Unai at the last one, but I haven't rolled any dice since the last ITT, right? So I'm just not playing. So if I was to take an Eldar list, it'd have to be really finessey. I wouldn't back myself with that. So I needed something simple. I was going to go for Blood Angels, and then we're like, well, no one's taking Death Guard. You've got to take Death Guard, surely. And I've been reliably informed over and over how easy this Death Guard army is to play. So if it goes wrong, it's literally only my fault, which is terrifying. But I have been trying to just learn my rules and think about deployments and that sort of thing. But obviously I have no idea what my matrix is, apart from I'd probably beat everything. So in theory,
that's right.
If I play it well enough, I should beat most things.
We're in a meta at the moment where certain armies just are incredibly good and do suppress others. So I think it'll be interesting. But as you say, I think your ability to actually map and know every single game is much more restricted by taking something at the last minute. Absolutely. But then you're also a very capable player, Chris, and you know what you're going to do with it, and you know what the role for it is. And so there's not a hard and fast right way with this, but I would say in the long term, having a matrix for your army, and this is actually something I advise mentees I'm coaching now to always have, You should just have a matrix for your army, because when you make a matrix for your army, you learn a lot about what it's good at and what it's bad at. And you get your head over the fact that, yeah, you lose to some things. Every army does. That's the way of the game. And especially in teams, it's finding out how you can manipulate and manage those things, right? And so I think having a general working sense of how your army plays into the other common armies in the game is really, really useful. That is a massive contribution to teams. And if you can have that, that helps you plug into a team comp really easily. And as you say, I think there's without Farius this time. I think there was just we got kind of strung out over a very long period where a lot changed, and that actually made it very hard to lock things in. But then also you couple that with the WTC meta suddenly popping up in front of everyone, right? Like a couple of weeks out, that's always going to distort how people are thinking. You know, it's going to distort what people are taking. So again, you've got that last minute change. And I think with teams, there is always the decision to twist or to stick at the last minute, right? I think you look at WTC, for example, you've got two of the teams people would consider the favourites have opted not to bring the knights that everyone's currently smashing everyone up with at all, right? And they've made a choice, which is, well, we'll stick with what we've got and find solutions from what we've already got. And ultimately, one way will work, and it's going to be really, really interesting to see which way works, right? Not just adjusting to the new hotness, rather trying to find new counters from within, or, okay, this is really, really good, we have to take it. So knowing when to stick and when to twist, I think is really, really good. Josh Callard in the chat says, Death Guard are a highly skilled army, and I won't hear otherwise. So there you go.
Damn straight. Yeah, I've literally just taken...
Chris has always loved Death Guard. He loves Typhus. He loves the lore.
That's it, all about that lore. The only other advice I'd have for teams who are looking to take it on to the next level, so something we haven't done it yet, but we will do over the next couple of days, is pre-matrix the teams you're thinking that you might be competing against.
Yeah.
Two benefits to this. One, you get drawn into them round 3 and you don't get much time to matrix it. You then have got it ready to go. And the other thing is, by just completing 5, 6, 7 matrices across the board, you will just start to see patterns. You'll start to think about what sort of process you're going to be needing to be doing with your pairings. Mm-hmm. You'll see, oh, actually, quite often this is happening. This is the pattern. So actually, quite often we're going to be doing this. I remember the last one, was it? It was you, Tom. You said you checked on, and there were a team that were going for the first time, and they
they had matrixed every team there. These were guys chatting at their first teams event. We chatted with them in the pub on the Friday night, and they'd done every single team.
Yeah. Now
that was when I realised I was going to have to retire at some stage, because that's too much effort.
Fair play to them. You don't need to do that, guys. No. Because especially once you played a few games, you might be like, oh, actually, I was wrong about this. It's something very different. But yeah, definitely, if you can pre-matrix just some of the main teams, then that'll help you matrix anyone, really. And just practice your... just practice the pairing.
Yeah.
Friday night. Oh, who are we playing into? What do we think they're going to lead with? What are we going to lead with? Let's just go through it and just get a vibe for it. Now, if you've obviously designed your comp with someone that's just going to always be first defender, then fair enough. But quite often we've done that, and then over the course of 5 games, never once led with that person. Based on the matrix, actually, that wasn't the right thing to do. But yeah, just practice the pairings. If you've never done pairings before, please put your team names, your army names on a piece of paper at least to put down. I remember the first ever teams event I did, I'd never done pairings. And I was trying to write it on a sheet, and it's so confusing. Just have bits of paper with the army names on. Obviously, if you wanted to go one up, not this time, but in the future time, Scrivo does some beautiful pairings artwork. He's working on ours at the moment, and he does other teams as well. And they give you a nice little collectible, don't they? So definitely do that. But that's a little thing. But yeah, I think those are generally the main.
I fully agree. I think as well, especially if you're coming at it from the perspective of a newer team, what you absolutely can matrix for is, if you all sat at the pub and were like, what do we think the best 5 armies people would take to a teams event right now are? Write those down and see how you feel across your 5 armies into those. I think that's a very sensible start point. It'd be the same.
Yeah.
you're speculating about WTC. You're like, what do we think the 8 best armies in the game are? Well, what does our spread across that look like? I think it's a very nice early sort of way of starting to work your way into your comp and everything else. There was a question in the chat about whether we have a video on how to do matrices. That is something we could 100% make for you, Erebus Paint, and absolutely should.
The plan is, bouncing off this video, in terms of coaching, we've got Jack, who loves a bit of pairings.
He does. He's a pairings wizard.
So if you're a team that's looking for a bit of pairings coaching or even comp coaching, Jack, so we do offer that. But also the other thing is, based off this video, we are then going to run a team series where we'll go through an episode on all of those kinds of things. Exactly. This is kind of like the beginner primer, but we will cover those things in depth. But
100%. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of art to it. It all looks very alien when you first start seeing it. But once you got a fix on it, it's really very enjoyable and very engaging, and it adds an awful lot to the game. And I have to say, the average standard of teams with all of this stuff has just gone up and up and up. So you need to be equipped now to compete. So we're more than happy to help with that. Ed says you did lead with Siege Anvil 4 out of 5 times. Whatever the Siege Anvil one was, that certainly got to first defend.
That was the one where we were like, Ed had that as first defender. And then we're like, well, actually, we need that as second defender a lot of the time.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Alrighty. And I think another thing to keep an eye on, one final tip in terms of before, but just in general, I think getting a sense of what your player type and role is, starting to think about that, I think is very useful. And we'll talk about it in terms of during and after events. I think there's a lot more information you can gather from that. But I think there are different jobs that need doing in teams. And I think you'll have a sense of the kind of job you might be good at doing from the kind of player you already are. Do you, for example, love smashing people but hate anything else? There's a very specific type of role for you in a team as a push player. That's really useful. Are you the kind of player who can go and play against anything, get it over the line, keep it close, keep it tight, make every game difficult no matter the matchup? There is a role for you in a team as someone who's either defending or going and grinding with the best armies in the game, etc., etc. Are you someone who loves guns, loves a light board, wants to shoot? Are you someone who likes hiding, using the combat, etc.? Different types of players. You can have a space for almost every type in a team. What you cannot have is loads of the same one. So it's really, really useful as you get your comp together to try and work out how the different personalities fit together. And over time, in a team itself, as we've done with Alpharis, as we've done with 6+ in general, we do try to make sure we've got a mix of the types and types of players across different teams and different roles and angles covered as well. Engageable Front says, I'm very good at bringing bottles of water to various tables. Is there a place for me? I mean, you can absolutely bring us water at ITT this weekend 100%. Coming. We'd love that. That would be really great. Get in touch.
The water boy.
Okay. You're at the event. It's teams time now. How do we level up our teams game at the event itself? Ben, what have you done at teams events that's helped you do it better? What kind of takeaways have you had from it?
Praying that my captain gets the pairing right. Really,
okay.
Not taking a Wraith Knight and putting it against some creations of Bile with a ridiculous
move.
That seems like an incorrect pairing and a disaster immediately. I don't know. It's tough. I think as a fairly inexperienced teams player, it's a tough one. I think managing your own expectations at the table is quite crucial. Sort of monitoring your own mood, your mentality.
Good.
Knowing you need to scrap for every point. There isn't going to be oh god, that's gone off. Right, sell the farm, burn the house.
This is actually my single biggest one. This is my single biggest one, Ben.
So I think it's got to be the most important, right? You need to make sure you're getting some sort of score for the team. You can't just let your head drop. It's not like singles where it doesn't matter if you win or lose by 1 or 99 points, right? Every point is going to matter for you and in your team. So going in with that mentality of let's not let the team down.
100%. And I think that sticks out to me because I have played a lot of team events for 6+. The only game I can vividly remember is the one where I absolutely lost my flipping rag, which was against... I got paired into Custodies on a light board when it was the Solar Spearhead with GSC. And I am not I'm not someone who flips out in game very often, but I absolutely lost it. I was really, really grumpy. I was really, really cross. And then, as I said, it upset the whole balance of the round. It wasn't useful, didn't help anyone. Actually, in the end, it worked out fine. And I think it just highlighted how destructive and unhelpful that is, right? Because actually, what you have to try and do is keep incredibly steady. For one thing, you don't actually want to give away to anyone that a game you're in a team setup is a game you don't want to be in, right? Because that's already information, right, about how you think something's going to go and how you think scores will go. And actually, in a team setup where, again, you're trying to keep certain things hidden about what you think the overall score and the overall outcomes are, being very level-headed, being very calm, not giving anything away is really, really important. So, yeah, I think that's a massive one, Ben. And obviously in teams, every single point matters. So if you give up at any point, if you start talking it out, if you accept a 0 because you had a bad turn, you are immediately dropping the floor of the whole team, right? So keeping your head really, really, really important. Okay, Scrib, how about you?
So, kind of to touch on the Matrix angle, like if you say you're going to get a 10, don't take any risks. If to get that 10, you need to be being cautious.
Yeah.
Having stuff that will last all 5 turns to score that primary and to score those secondaries. If you've got 9-inch charges that would help enable those things, don't risk them unless you've been told by someone else that you need to push. And it's that whole mentality in a singles game. You'd just be like, right, fuck it, I need to try this because I need this to catch up. But in teams, realistically, sometimes you just need to be going, right, is this too risky a play? Should I just do something that conserves my resources for later in the game where maybe I can swing ahead? So say if you're going second, knowing that you've got a big primary swing perhaps in the mission, making sure you've got that resource to then utilise it then. And yes, you might be down on points turn 3, but by turn 5, you can bounce back. Who knows, you might have a challenger card. There's plenty of smart ways you can do it without giving up resources because you're taking risky charges, sticking a unit out to shoot just because you might kill something.
It's very good. Very good. Yeah. So balancing risk-reward, I think that's a big part of teams play, right? And there are moments in a game to assess that, like, oh, actually, I have gotten in here. This might be useful. There is risk attached. Knowing what the trade-offs are and communicating across your team and knowing when it's a good time to go for it and when actually that's not needed, that's really important, isn't it? Chris, how about yourself? You got any advice for in the round itself, in the teams event itself?
So, if you're going to have a coach... then that is so good. So, good. A coach is someone who basically, apart from being water boy, also is just constantly checking in what is your score, how's your score looking like. And I know when I first started playing, I was like, you don't really need to do that. I can just walk around and find out what happens. What actually happens is, as soon as you start playing, if your game's remotely close or requiring a lot of thought, you don't really have the time to just whiz along the line and check in and keep everyone updated. So having a coach who can constantly be feeding back and can let you know, it's not going that well down that end. You probably have to try and do something. So, yeah, just if there ever is a coach, then that is a huge boon to your team. And in general, if you don't have one, which let's face it, most of it is trying to do your best to keep updated on the situation. Alex in the chat says about managing the clock, and I think that's a really, really important one. If you know your game, so for example, at the last event, I was Ynnari. I knew that my army had the ability to push and get big scores, and it could also just get small wins. Playing into Vanguard Tactics, I was into Votan. I was like, it's a winning matchup for me, but do I need to take risks or not? Well, I'm not just going to rush out and try and table him, because if it goes wrong, suddenly we turn a winning matchup into a losing matchup if it goes wrong. Actually, there's no need. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to make sure, obviously, the game is done, but we're going to manage it. I'm not just going to rush ahead with my moves and go out there. I'm going to keep checking in on the other scores. I'm going to make sure I'm playing my game so that when we get to turn 4 and 5, I can then make more of an informed decision rather than having to make that decision super early because we've just whizzed through our turns. I think having a laptop or something to matrix is really helpful.
Increasingly staple now, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's got
or an iPad if you're really rich, hey Harley. But just something just to keep it all written down. I think that's really helpful. as an individual, you want to constantly be thinking, what score am I going to be getting?
Yeah.
Some players will be slightly under predictors, some players will be slightly over predictors. So that's just human nature of us, really. But try not to be too far out. There's nothing more frustrating than being like, oh, I think I'm only going to get a 7. And so we're like, right, one of us is to like try and push.
Yeah.
And then you push, it goes wrong, and then they come back with a 13 because not that they got lucky, they just misread the game.
Yeah.
So that throws everything out of balance, and that's happened to us a couple of times.
100%.
Where we've maybe taken risks we didn't need to because of misinformation.
Yeah, completely. I think that's where the sort of chain effect of morale or bad predicting is very real, right? It cascades. So you need to try and avoid that. There are a few contributions to the chat that I'm going to read out. Alex Fowler says he loves an underprediction. The whole team does too. Yeah, we were calling Alex the boy who cried 4 a little bit a couple of weekends ago. But he gets it done in the end, absolutely. And he's got a good point about, if you're someone who's able to speed through to sort of top of 2-3, you can just take a moment, let other games develop, keep an eye on those. That is something I always, when I get to the end of a turn in the mid-game, I will always say to my opponent, I'm going to go and have a look at the other games now, and I'm going to assess what the situation with those is. I was playing the lovely Welsh Guard player, and I was like, we both have a million bodies. In theory, unless I literally throw the kitchen sink at him, this should be fairly drawish. And I was just keeping it nice and chill and just seeing how the other games went. And once I was comfortable, there were enough other wins coming. I was like, okay, then a lovely close little game it shall be, and we'll call it that. So I think that's a really useful skill to develop 100%. One thing I really like from Sam Dunn is no blame. Everyone goes together, pick people up when they're down. This is absolutely huge because actually one of the biggest mentality things in a teams event is keeping it going for the whole event. When you've had your first one and you've beaten some guys from Shropshire who'd never played 40k before and everyone's really happy, that's easy. But you need to be able to go again a couple of rounds further in when you've lost to some team you weren't necessarily expecting to lose to and morale's a bit shaky. And actually the worst thing you can ever do is start chucking blame out and casting aspersion and everything else. There's often, what we'll often do with our fire is like, if there's a lesson from a round, we'll sit down and go, what's the lesson? Okay, we know we don't want to do that, so we won't do that. It's the productive thing. But there's never this was your fault, this was your fault, this was his fault, right? And that's a different thing.
I think it's so interesting because, like, teams, there's this whole win and lose together. Yeah. Obviously, the potential concern, I think, for people going in is, well, what if I'm the player that loses our team the round? Yeah. And you know what, actually, I've not experienced that. Like, obviously, we're quite lucky with our group of guys, but I mean, as an Alfarius captain, over the last few ITTs, there have been a few rounds, usually against Vanguard Tactics, where we haven't got the result we wanted because of one or two results have gone hideously wrong. Yeah. And that person will be beating themselves up.
It's tough to be that person.
It's inevitable, right? It's a bit like, I've played a lot of cricket. When a player drops a catch, they're berating themselves. What they don't need is the rest of their team berating them as well. They didn't do it deliberately, right? So it's about remembering that all of your results, good or bad, are based on as a team. Maybe you made a mistake and things went wrong. That's fine. Every single player has made a mistake at some point in their game. Maybe we just got the analysis of the matchup wrong. Maybe our opponent got super lucky. Maybe we got really unlucky. So many things, and Josh says there about having blind confidence obviously helps, but I think this is a really interesting thing. I've spoken to Jack Chapman about this. What you'll notice is if a player isn't getting as good a results as they would be hoping, their matrix predictions start dropping. And if they're playing well, so like by the end of ITT of Unari, I was like, give me anyone, I'll smash them. I was doing like really well.
You had discovered what I'd discovered before you, which is that it's a hell of a drug playing Unari at that point.
I know, just be anyone, cool. But that was, so my matrix position, I was like, give me anyone, I'll beat them. Whereas if things haven't been going as well previously, I might well be, I don't know, probably a losing draw there, and you struggle to see. And that's the great part of being a team, is your teammates can work with you and pick you back up. At singles, that won't necessarily happen.
No, exactly.
With teams, you've got that togetherness, and that's why that togetherness and understanding your teammates, going back to what we, like the first thing Ben said, having that togetherness and knowing as a pairer and as a team, like how each person works. Are they a sort of a person that underpredicts? Are they Paul James? 4, boom, gonna win this game, gonna win this game, gonna win this game. Like, are they those sorts of players? Ed, gonna win all these games, or are they an Alex Chancellor? Oh, gonna lose this game, gonna lose this game, gonna lose this game, even though he's not, right? So you have to understand your team.
You need to know their mentality
and factor that into your pairings. But yeah, the most important thing is win and lose as a team. Yes, one player, there is a potential that one player fucked up, but you just talk about them behind their back. Don't say it to their face. That's the
British way. But also, it's like, people do make mistakes. I think the important thing is just to take the lesson and move on, isn't it? And as I say,
there's always a learning from it.
There's always something, and being the one who's dipped in a round is always punishment enough. There is never any need for anything else from anyone else. But as others in the chat have alluded to, the most important thing for everyone involved, including a person who has struggled in a round, is you leave that behind you immediately and go and crack on into the next thing, right? Yep. It's absolutely, you can lose your rag for a moment, or you can lose a game for a moment, then you've got to get your head back in the game and power through.
We had that last ITT where everyone at the end of the round, because we'd lost getting a draw by 1 point, everyone was like, well, if I'd just done this, if I'd just done that. And
those
I said, guys, shut up, because if I'd made that charge, that was an extra point. So it's on me, guys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. No,
we all just shrugged it off because it was so close.
In those kinds of rounds, they're amazing because every game has something that happened that could have been the thing, right? It's absolutely huge. No, absolutely. Fielding a few comments in the chat. Mechanicus says, wait, Harley was dropped for the actual tactics video? Baffling. No, he wasn't. He benched himself because he's on holiday having a lovely time. I have begrudgingly accepted that Harley has been very good on these shows so far, so he's going to continue to appear in the future, unfortunately. John's had enough. He's going. He can't.
I have to retire, apparently.
Oh dear, absolutely. And then Harley says, asked Tom my Matrix into Scotland. Yes, your Matrix predicted all wins, and you got a draw, Harley. So there we are. That's a good example of Harley's own team's predilections. He even had the mirror. He had the mirror as a win, and it was the mirror he got, and it was a draw.
Well done, Harley.
Very, very good. Now, Harley was very, very good this weekend. I'm not going to take anything away from him. Josh Carroll says, unless you're like me and like to mock and be mocked, and losing banter is fun. Yeah, absolutely. So Josh gave out some losing banter round 1 at Allies Inconvenience. Josh then lost a couple of games, got a lot more banter back. Josh was playing Death Guard.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he lost games.
He was sat on one of his hands for most of his games, from what I heard.
Yeah, as he said in the England Discord afterwards, turns out the army's not broken, I just hadn't played any good players for 3 months. Very, very good. Okay, yeah, I mean, I think those are all the main things at events. I think, sort of adapting, seeing how your comp's getting on, being ready to make changes in the event as well. I think that's really useful. As Chris has already alluded to, managing your players and managing each other and kind of swapping roles out. If someone's gone into a game, had a bad time, you might not want to immediately stick them out as first defender or put them back in, or you might. I remember the one where Jack Chapman lost, I think, to Votan, and then got put immediately back into Votan and absolutely destroyed them in the next round to a tone. So, different people, different things with that. Alrighty, let's move it forwards to after the event then. How do you guys think you can level up your team's game post-event? Let's start with you, Ben, again.
A post-event beer.
Great. Okay. Yeah.
I think. Again, I'm going to keep coming back to this mentality advocate. The actual game side of things, I'm not entirely sure, but I think that mentality again. Let's go back. Let's have a beer. Let's sit down. Let's review. Was this matrix correct? How far off are we now?
Yeah.
I think the only other thing to bear in mind is obviously if you're just doing like ITTs, for example. They are quarterly. Lots is going to change in between then. Mm-hmm. But you perhaps can look at patterns of play between your team. We had I have Josh Wood down as my push player. Sure. The moment he loses his Bulgrin, that's game over. Well, maybe we can mitigate that in the future. Maybe look at what type of player he is. But that sort of thing, I think it's that post thing evaluation. And again, just coming back together as a team and being like, I love you all, boys. That's big group hugs.
Yeah,
that mentality side of things, I think, is good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly right. And I think, as you say, that there can be a sort of group discussion. We've had many of those in our forest over the years, haven't we, Chris? Where it's like each time we spot one or two things which we'll take forwards and change. I think that
completely ignore.
Or completely ignore.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes, depending on the nature of the thing. I think that is really, really helpful. Reflecting, just like in singles, reflecting as a group is really, really useful. But again, in a way that's healthy and happy and constructive, not chucking mud at each other or getting acrimonious about things. I think that's really, really helpful. How about you, Scoop? How do you like to improve after teams events?
So sometimes, as well as doing it as a group, sitting down and kind of writing through each of the games, working out what worked well in the list, the interactions with the opponents, how you could have handled different styles of people as well as the lists, because sometimes you can have 4 great games and your 5th guy you're maybe not vibing with, but if you're knowing how to handle them, you get it across the line.
Good.
And if it's the last round, sometimes that can be a bit hard. But I quite often like now jotting it all down actually on paper or a text or whatever, just because I find sometimes I can mull it over with friends and then sleep and it's gone. So if I write it down somewhere, I can kind of, as I'm writing it, it kind of processes a bit more to then kind of have notes of what I did well and what I could then learn for, even just for singles in the next tournament I'm at. So like building on the things of how I was playing and also the list, because yes, it may be the team's list, but quite often I'll take that list to a singles anyway, because it's vaguely probably the good thing to take, right? So building on those successes, like going right now I hadn't appreciated there might be so many nights because maybe I wasn't quite on the ball with it, then looking at what I need to adjust to, kind of, especially if there's a week's time you've got another event, so kind of looking forward rather than just always looking backwards as well.
Absolutely. I think those lessons to take away is good. I remember, I think it was one of the ITTs where, for me, the sad conclusion was that Biosanctic Research had had its day. It ceased to be the force that it was, and it wasn't handling UKTC boards as well as it was handling WTC. It sort of didn't know that going in, learned it at the event, and then you go, okay, well, that's cool. That's where we're at. It's time for that to go to the big teams list graveyard in the sky and send it on up. Chris, how about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, obviously after the event, it's all about the reflection. I think one thing you could potentially do if you're keen to get better, right, is give yourself some targets before the event, and then you've got something to reflect on after.
Yep.
So, especially if you're a newer team, it's going to be, because you're not going to get pairings, right? I mean, every event we have at least one round. Usually it's one where we're like, didn't quite get that right. Every event.
Yeah.
Right, we get it right 4 out of 5 times, I'd say, but that one time we do get it wrong, and that might lead to a loss or a draw. And it just is what it is. So we're not expecting perfection. If we gave ourselves the goals of, especially in teams, going in, like, right, let's go and get a 4-1, let's go and get that 3-2, let's go and it's so out of your hands. I mean, you take Alphias and Omegon as our two of our teams that have gone historically. Alphias historically get lucky with who they play against.
They do.
Omegon do not. Okay, it's just been
a fact of life.
Omegon get paired into one of the top 3 or 4 teams at the event. We don't until we play the stronger teams at the end of the event. That's just historically how it has gone.
Yeah.
And great. Those things could quite easily switch around at some point. Maybe even this coming weekend, right? We could have a nightmare and just play into there could be 3 teams better than us, and we could maybe play 2 of them. And so I think, just as usual, don't go about it like in terms of a reflection. Oh, well, we didn't hit our goal of how we wanted to do. I mean, at the last few events, our Fires have been just off making the final. Right? Just a few points off making the final. And so obviously our goal is to try and make a final. But that's not an actionable goal because a lot of that is out of our hands. So you can go in and be like, well, we want to try and achieve this, this, and this. And then afterwards you can obviously debrief on that. And the things you want to be thinking about are your pairings, like how often are you managing to get people into the winning kind of like situations and that sort of thing. It's like, did we all have a good time? Did we hit our expectations? Like, did everyone have a good time? Did they get to do the sort of the things they wanted to do? Because one thing we haven't mentioned, but at an event, quite often you've got someone who keeps going under the bus. Someone maybe their role is to go and take the
right Adam.
And it sucks.
Patrick last ITT.
And you know what? Sometimes it was just give them a break. I know Steve had to go as first defender of Tyranids at the last one or two ones ago, and by round 5 he was a bit fed up, and Dave was like, "I'll do it as Grey Knights. I'll take the first drop." So yeah, it's just being aware.
I remember one up at Element where it was with a few of the lads who were less sort of teams wired anyway. And it's a tough crowd at the Element events, right? Like very strong players, and we had quite a strong weekend. And then I think we still, because we had that classic, like all the top teams already played each other and then started pairing down, and we paired into Scotland. And it was just one where I was like, I'm just going to first defend and just take it as get killed, and everyone else can at least have a nice time. That was exactly how it went. That was actually the first time I ever played it. And it did not go well for me, but it was exactly what needed to happen at that point for the guys, because none of them needed that at the end of their weekend. So yeah, it's good fun. And I think in general, it's the goal setting, it's the note taking, it's the being an active analyzer of your own performance and games. I think the biggest one is obviously did you assess and hit colours right? That's ultimately the goal. No one is expecting you to beat every army in the game. What they are expecting you to do is know what wins and what loses and how and why. That's the whole art of teams. And so the closer you get to getting that right and delivering, the better. And again, you're not going to get it right every time, but it's all about learning where you were wrong and what you can apply that to in the future. I think that's the single biggest thing. And then also have a great time. Say nice things to your teammates afterwards. Have a laugh. Share some memories. Share some photos. Get excited about it. It's a social adventure. It's the whole reason we do it. Celebrate it for the social occasion that it is. And then what you tend to find is after about 2 days, everyone wants to go and do another one.
Drive home, you're
exactly. They're in the car, and you're like, oh, I could do this. I could do this. This would be great on the light board, whatever else it is. And so just keep that fun and that excitement. I think that will really drive the group. And as I said, one thing we have 100% found is that if you can have personnel working together over multiple events, that does actually work. Obviously, we change it up in 6 months, but actually there is a real acquired knowledge and experience and reps. There's a whole bunch of the team now, probably 8, 9, 10 of them in 6 plus, where if I was on a team with any one of them, I think people would have a pretty good sense of what's going on and how the different pieces fit together. And that's something we've trained up really over I suppose, the last year. And I think it's a really amazing thing to see. And again, you play against so many teams now where you can really feel that as well. And I think that's a really important part of it too. Wonderful. Okay, we're going to move it to some questions and then we're going to call it a day. So if you have questions in the chat, do shout them out. Obviously, if you want to super chat us for a job well done, we'd love that. Money is amazing. And I'm going to go to the podcast questions and read those out now. So first question from John Black is, what's the list that you'd like to run in teams but haven't got the reps or the balls? Boys?
So there's a guard list.
Okay.
This is not because it's good in any description of any point in time ever, but I just want to run a load of horses. You can get 60, 70, Ride of the Rohirrim. I'm here for that. That just looks like it would be great fun on paper, and then you try and deploy, and then you realise you're mounted and hate yourself for the next 5 games.
You can ingress at least 2 of the pony bricks, Ben. So
that is an option. There we go.
And of course, you'd paint them bright pink, so it'd be the Pink Pony Club.
Oh, amazing!
Right, someone get me my bank account. I'm
for me, one of the WTC Tier 1 teams has taken the list I would take, which is Cult of Speed for Orcs.
You stole mine.
With the 18 Death Copters and the Bikers, there is a Tier 1 team running that. We're doing our mentees RTT at the moment, and there's a buy for Jim, and he's going to get to play against the Spanish Cult of Speed list because I want to try it out and see what it's like. Absolutely glorious. Sorry, Scrib, if I've nicked yours there. Chris, how about you?
Wind Rider?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I
was a bit sad. I was hoping to have done the most recent King of the Pin and run Wind Rider. I think that just it is quite fun to play an army where it's like, I'm just going to go at you and I'm going to kill you. And I'm going to hope that hopefully I kill you enough. I think that's quite a nice pressure off kind of thing. So I'd like to have I used to really like it at the end of Night 50 Ynnari. It was just like I'm going to run at you, I'm going to kill quite a bit, and then the second wave's going to kill you. And hi, Incarn. Where a Wind Rider host would have been fun.
Yeah, 100%. We've got a few good questions in chat. So Erebus asked, do you think captains have too much pressure to get perfect pairings, or do you think that comes down to lack of team knowledge? Go on, Chris.
I think when it was in the early days, when it was just me, I certainly felt a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Because you know that if you get it wrong...
With hindsight, we let you do that a lot on your own way
Some
too much.
people just get pissed off, right?
Yeah.
I remember playing at the one of the events up at Element Games, and Dave got literally the one pairing he didn't want, which was hard, and he was raging about it. And so there's certainly pressure there, and you do, when it's you on your own doing it and it goes wrong, it's very, very hard to not be like, oh, well, that's a shame, guys. You will just take it personally. And as we said, you're not always going to get it right. I think how we do it these days, which is more of a kind of a discussion. As a pairer, I kind of either have to be in charge, or I have to with people helping, or I have to just dip out. I don't like just kind of dabbling in. I'm like, you know what? Probably a bit of pairing advice. Don't have 3, 4, or don't have 4 or 5 people all putting their input in. You need one person who's making the final decision with potential additions from the other. Another major bugbear of mine: as soon as you find your pairing, don't run off and just go to the table and that sort of thing. Stay as a 5.
Yeah, stay and see how it all comes together.
Has that. Yep. And then when you've done all your pairings, have a team huddle and make sure every single person knows what their job is. Because we have lost rounds before because someone thought they had to slightly push and actually they only needed a draw. So just make sure, doesn't matter if you're playing against one of the top teams or against someone who you think you're going to beat, you need to have that conversation and make sure everyone is aware of what their expectations are at the beginning of the round. Make sure you're doing that.
100%. Ivlatel asked, do agents players just have a bus pass come with the codex? Yeah, absolutely. Just don't do that. Yeah, absolutely do not do that. That is one of the sad aspects of teams, that certain armies will just really not be a useful thing to have in the comp, unfortunately. So someone giving some love to taking a 5 of all the Chaos armies. I mean, most of the WTC teams are taking
so close to
bunch of them. Yeah, we were not far off.
We were, because at one point Harley was on Thousand Suns, I was on Death Guard, Lee was on CSM, Adam was on Emperor's Children.
Yeah.
And
it was all, the dream was alive, well and truly alive. Jack Asher says, I'd love to play Host of Ascension into a Knights meta, but someone is currently in possession of my GSC army.
Very pretty army.
Thanks for that. I got some great.
Always going to be on Death Guard.
I got some great comments on my GSC army this weekend, and I was like, "It is not mine."
I didn't get nominated for best painting.
No, and I was like, I really hope they don't, because I'd have to stand up and not take it, because there's no way I'd ever do that. Absolutely right. Okay, returning to the podcast questions, and do keep these questions in chat coming, guys. We've got some great ones. Alex from Trash asks, how do you rig the draw to always pair Trash? Asking for a friend.
Just deep pockets. That's where our YouTube money goes.
Yeah, we're very tight with Zach. That's always helped. Zach's like, I'll give you Vanguard at the end, but you can have absolute dross until then. We're like, thank you, Zach. That's wonderful. Thank you, Zach. You've always had our back. And if you could give Omega on a bunch of the top teams in the country, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, it's good for our ego.
Keep our egos intact, and he's never let us down on that score. John in Discord wanted to ask, what does the perfect teams comp look like? Not in armies, in people. What is the perfect 11-man team squad?
You got to have a cook.
Yeah, you got to have a cook.
Got to have a water boy. A couple of coaches.
Yeah.
You got to have some players that are very good at pushing. Some players.
I think you need like 2 absolute 20-0 hounds, don't you? And then I think outside of that, I think it can be bloody mindedness the whole way down the line. But I think that's fine. But you absolutely do need two complete killers, I think,
who are on the right list as well, right?
Who are on the right list.
It makes no sense for us to put someone like Ed on a drawish army, but we know he's got the capability to get big wins. Well, let's put him on an army that we can pair and get big wins.
100%.
We've all got different strengths. So, like for me, having played the Grey Knights, I knew I was just going to try and keep those scores close, and that was my role. And I was more than happy with that, and I actually prefer that lack of pressure, where some people like the pressure of, I want to dick this person over. So it's working out that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Alex Fowler in chat asks, ideal world, what's your 5 lists for ITT?
Well, we've got them. So
there's obviously the Alfaris comp.
Jakari number 1.
Yeah, Jakari, and then last minute Chaos Cults copied from Team Scotland, and then last minute Death Guard copied from Team Scotland.
Whoa. From America.
Sorry, copied from America, but also the Scots have it.
Before, thank you.
And then I don't even know what Ed actually took in the end. And then Harley's secret guard with Canis Rex tech.
Cool. That's probably the top.
I think that's the best 5 at the event.
What I do enjoy is that early on in the team comp, we were like, Jakari's actually is a good thing to have in the team comp. And now it's like, oh, no.
I think Drakari's an interesting one where I think for a bunch of the rounds in 5s, Drakari will be just fine. Because in 5s, its problems stemmed in 8s, right? Where you're like, oh yeah, all those other armies in the game that love it are also there. Whereas in 5s, I think Drakari will be okay.
I think what's happened here is Tom has basically gaslit Adam into thinking that Drakari are really good in teams. He went on about it for so long, and that I was absolutely confident I am going to 20-0 everybody. And
for both of you, it is the best of the options, and I'll stand by that.
It could be a stroke of genius.
Yeah,
sometimes it is better, right, to take an army than something you've never tried 100%. Before, right?
100%. Harley is saying that the Alfarius team comp is shite. That is not very teams of you, Harley.
Shut the fuck up, Harley.
It sounds like the Grey Knights book review we got last week as well. Thanks, Harley.
Yeah. I don't think our team comps. We've got Eldari that paired right can annihilate.
I think there's plenty going on in the Alpha.
Good Death Guard list. We've got.
It's a weird ITT as well because there are no light and heavy boards.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be a bit odd, right? It's just going to be a bit different. So I think in the meta it's going to be interesting to see. If I was picking 5 right now, I'd probably pick Host GSC, Chaos Cults, Death Guard, and then it's just whether you go for Knights or whether you go for 2 things that can scrap with Knights. I think I think Infernal Lance Chaos Knights I'd be very tempted to have, and then I don't know if I'd take IK. Don't know. Maybe, to be honest, Matt Bell's Necrons from the weekend were amazing. Maybe I'd go that.
Necrons are just useful.
Necrons just very useful, so maybe that's the 5 I'd have. I think I quite like that one. Alex says he doesn't think CKIK DGT Suns something is the best comp, despite the kind of upper power level in the singles. Yeah, I think I'd agree. We
were definitely thinking about that. Like when we were doing our comp, it was like, well, we need to be able to play these armies, and that's what Harley was having most of his meltdowns around. We can't beat Knights was basically the thing that we heard over and over from Harley.
Harley and Adam are having a very public argument about Drakarian teams, which I'm just going to gloss over. They're both wrong in their own ways, and we're going to leave it at that.
And the answer is Space Wolves.
Yeah, and then
we don't have Marines.
Saint Macau in podcast questions asks, "How do I stop alienating everyone around me so that I can get invited to a team?"
Rocks. I don't know how serious you take the question.
No,
worried that's true.
Who posted that? Do we know them?
Saint Michael. No, I don't know the name. I know they've been in the chat a few times. I don't know where they're from. But
have a long, hard think about the things that you may be doing. And then.
But also, if there's people local to you who you'd like to be in a team with, that's where you start, right? And you get in touch with them.
That's literally what Six was first started.
That's literally how it is.
Our first ever team was with Ben, Lee, and myself. We were called the 3-inch Failures. That still
3 inches
pops up. That was when still whenever I have to choose my team name
it's still there, is it?
It's still there.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Hannibal asks, which army will overperform at ITT and which army will underperform? What do you reckon, Chris?
I reckon Eldari's going to overperform.
Yeah.
I reckon that's secret.
I agree.
Having a resurgence at the moment.
I think Eldari will enjoy itself in
Eldari's
5 hours.
Have a good time in the right hands. what's going to underperform? And let's hope it's not Death Guard.
I think probably Thousand Suns.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people who can't play Thousand Suns, and there's a very real consensus that they're good. So I think that's a dangerous combination at the moment. I think there will be some T-Suns in comps where it would have been better to have that person on an army they could pilot correctly, I think. And so I could see T-Suns not actually doing an awful lot at the top of the event, but that might be completely wrong.
As always, good GSC players are very useful.
Oh, yeah, GSC as well. GSC as well, I think, definitely very capable of having a role in the success up here as well.
I guess Knights as well, if they're paired wrongly, they're going to be out to
if everyone's tech for it, right? If everyone's
take all the Knights, we're basically going to get a little microcosm of the WTC logic, right? Either they're so good you have to have them, in which case they're going to kick everyone in regardless, or there'll be answers and they won't quite do it in the same way. But they will definitely define the event one way or the other, I think, in that sense. Barry says, I'm very rarely versus bad T-Suns player. Yeah, me too, mate. The only time I'm
the same T-Suns player, so that's fun.
Yeah.
They're a dying breed.
Yeah, absolutely that. And I think that is all of our questions, guys. So unless there's anything else from the chat, we will bid you adieu. Oh, there you go. Cabbage Media asked, if Drukhari were hypothetically playable in teams, what would the Drukhari role be in the comp? Well, Cabbage Media is someone who has hashed out the complete Drukhari meta role. The role of Drukhari in a comp is to attack mech heavy lists, be rejected, and then play something it doesn't want to play at the end of pairings. That is what it does. It will typically be combat pressure that it ends up actually playing against, or it will be taken by a mech skew list it doesn't actually beat. Those are the two typical outcomes for Drukhari at the moment, i.e. something with indirect. Can you guess who? Would be those are the two main things. So what you want is a list that has a very real mech threat, because that can at least shape pairings, because if you're being rejected, that means something else is being accepted, so you're helping to pin, for example, Knights into something else, because it's got loads of Haywire, I don't want to play the Haywire, I'll play the other thing. It helps you force bad choices on mech defenders in that sense. And then I think you also just want to... What we always found was you want to keep like the fights first in. You want to still at least be able to go and party with a rushy, combat-y army further down pairings, because it's a bit sad if you built Drukhari to not have those things when it can be good at those things. So Marines and mech, solid games there, and can at least go and play those things, and then typically you'll end up not playing that. In 5-mans, that's why I'm a bit more buoyant on Drukhari, because actually much harder for those things to stay away from it, right? There's just less options to muddle through. And I think that's the killer thing for Drukhari. Is I think the interesting thing looking at, if you look, for example, at Skari's teams list, if we adopt the view that Skari is really, really on it with this stuff, Skari has, I think, gone for a very space-filling, board-controlling, pressury, scory Drukhari at the moment. I wouldn't say he's even massively teched into anti-mech, so the beast packs are amazing for that, right? Because beast packs just work super well at shutting opponents out, blocking, buying space, buying time, buying points. So, making sure you have forward pressure in the Drukhari list, I think, is really important, because that's something it can do really well for very cheap. So beast packs, Haywire, bit of anti-melee, that's your job. Go do it, and then get ready for someone to take you out of disrespect, and then get some points and surprise some people. Do it. Be great. Fowler agrees about T-Suns on UKTC as well. Yeah, I don't think they're good. Also, I'm so glad that Maggles has caught on. I've been calling Magnus Maggles for the last couple of weeks. We've got it through. It's happening. Magnus is now Maggles. Let's make it a thing. It's good. Okay. Barry asks, how does WTC versus UKTC shape your list/army choices for teams, and how do they differ in the current meta? Anyone got any thoughts on that?
G-Sun's obviously better on WTC than UKTC.
I think UKTC's always historically felt like you want a bit more by way of shooting in a comp, right, compared to WTC.
You have to just understand the map where you can obviously get to. So we had like Harley with his guard list. He's like, well, my Chimeras can't actually scout out to the places I want them to on UKTC, whereas they can do that. I know in our Discord we've got like Max the Eldar player who is like struggled with that transition of where can I put my Wave Serpent without it getting shot.
Yes.
Harley is the genius that took
Canis Rex to exploit UKTC terrain. Yeah.
Because of UKTC terrain. Whether he is a genius,
we're going to make a documentary of this one, so don't worry. We're going to get to see in real time.
Our coach is going to have a mic and just be interviewing us and filming everything. He's going to do like a little documentary. So
super exciting in that sense. Ivor Tell asked, "What are your thoughts on bringing the CK to be the anti-hull / IK list?" I think this is why I like CK a little bit more than IK. I think CK is more versatile, both because of its army rules, which just are more versatile. Let's face it, IK are just I have a feel no pain, and if you fuck up, it gets worse. Whereas CK are doing all sorts of layering, targeted debuffing, depending on what you're playing against. The actual data sheets they have are a bit more versatile as well, I think, in the guns on the different knights. The reality is IK don't have a book, CK do, right? This isn't a huge surprise. But I think you can tool your CK up to be very flexible if you do that. You can also just take 6 big knights, right? You've got, as I played against at the weekend with Pete Duff and his 6 big knights, where it's like, here is 6 big knights. You're like, oh my god, right? Okay,
it's terrifying.
It is. It's a lot. It's a lot to chew on. It really, really is. Okie dokie. Right, that is us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will hopefully see some of you at ITT. We're really, really excited, and the Alpharis boys are going to do us proud. Until next time.
As are Omegon and Legion.
They're also there. We love them. We love those teams as well. I'm sorry for neglecting them. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.